Greetings, football fans.
This is the ESPN LA USC Trojan Media Network.
Presented by Pechanga Resort Casino.
Are you ready for some football?
Here we go, Monday, October 20th, 2025. It is time for Trojans Live, the USC Coaches Show. And yes, we got to recap that ugliness from Saturday night in South Bend.
Welcome to Trojans Live,
the exclusive USC Trojans Coaches Show.
Price, big hole left side, 10-5 touchdown. Well, the Trojans are going to have to do something different than they are on the running game defense because it ain't working right now, and the Irish have taken the lead.
We'll break down the game and what's ahead heading into another bye week for our USC Trojans. Plus, we'll talk about men's basketball with the USC basketball season on the horizon. Let's do it. This is Trojans Live for your Monday night. Right now, Trojans Live is presented by Monster Energy. Monster Energy.
Unleash the beast.
How do you do?
The exclusive USC Trojans Coaches Show. Behind the scenes insights and breaking news from the student athletes who play for the Cardinal and Gold. Live from Los Angeles.
Now from Heritage Hall with Keely Orr, Cody Kessler, and the All-American Shaun Cody. Here is your host, Jordan Moore.
Hello and welcome to Trojans Live, presented by Monster Energy on ESPN LA 710 across the USC Trojans Media Network. I am Jordan Moore alongside Shaun Cody, Cody Kessler, and on a bye week we get a special guest here. The offensive line coach Zach Hanson joins us. Our USC coach interview is presented by I Trust Capital, the official crypto platform of the USC Trojans. Coach Hanson, great to have you on the show. You've been a little bit of a story of the season. You move over to the offensive line spot, and from our eyes, that group has performed exceptionally well this season. What about you? Through 7 games, basically mid-season, how would you assess your group?
Yeah, really proud of the guys. I think they've done some really good things. Still got a lot of room to improve. We're playing with quite a few younger guys, if you want to call them that, not as experienced, I guess. So we're learning and growing through every single game. Didn't have our best game this last one, but a lot of things to learn from and build off of.
Yeah, Coach, getting to the last game, obviously, you guys have done a great job all year running the ball and a little bit of a struggle on Saturday. What kind of brought that on, and then, how'd they perform?
Yeah, first off, just, credit to Notre Dame. They did a great job defensively. Coach Freeman's a great coach. We knew they were going to be well coached, disciplined, all those things. I think the big thing, they loaded the box on us a bunch, extra guy in there. But, when we had our opportunities, we just didn't execute at the level we needed to. And that's really what it comes down to.
Coach, you've had to move some guys around this year because of injury, which is not easy to do. From the outside looking in, guys moving from tackles to guards, and then you have, some key injuries up front. But I think that's a testament to your coaching, but also the character that you have in your room. How important is it to have selfless players like that up front in the offensive line?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, you go in, hopefully you have like 7 or 8 guys that you feel really good about. But there's some guys that are limited to just one spot, and so you need to build flexibility within that group, and then with that, building chemistry in all those different positions too. Because if a guy starts like Toby started at left guard for us, and he's playing with Elijah Page. Well, Elijah goes down, now he plays tackle. He's got to have chemistry with Micah Banuelos, and we can't really slow that down at all. It's got to be built through reps throughout the year.
Yeah, I want to stay with that question because Tobias Raymond has been a real story of this season. He's played different spots. It seems like he has excelled in all of them. Is it the chemistry? I mean, we always talk about being on the left side versus being on the right side. Is it the technique? What makes it difficult for a lineman to be that versatile, and what should we appreciate when somebody is, in the case of Tobias?
Yeah, I think there's a big mixture of things, honestly. One of the things a lot of people don't think about is like all your play calls flip in your head. If you're the left tackle and you run outside zone to the right, you have a whole set of calls that, you're on the backside of the play, including the actual play call. Well, you flip that and go to the right tackle. You're now on the front side of the play. You have new calls. You're playing with a new person. And you're, physically in a different body position. Everything's flipped. So, there's a lot that goes into it. You just have to bank as many reps as you can when you get those opportunities at each side.
Yeah, Coach, you've had to deal with injuries. You've talked about it, but John Ray Reed coming in at center, that's kind of like the quarterback of your group that has to make all the calls and make sure you guys are – how difficult is that for a guy to come in midseason and try to take over that leadership role at the center?
Yeah, no, it's very difficult, and I've said in a couple of interviews, man, I'm really proud of Reed, the way that he's attacked, this season, being the backup to start, is a difficult deal when you come in being a multi-year starter at another place. But, he really just kind of embraced his role and really learned and grew where he needed to grow. And he's still continuing to do that right now. And, it's hard to do after a guy like Killian goes down, because Killian's so sharp and he's been in this system for so long that all of his calls are pretty much exactly what we want them to be, because he's been in it for so long and he was around Jonah and all these other guys that played here as well.
Coach, I know it's tough to find positives after a loss. We've all been there. It's frustrating, but this team still has a lot to play for going forward. They really do. What's the message, not only to your group, but this offense or this team as a whole going into this bye week as they get ready for these last 5?
Yeah, I think exactly that. I mean, we got a lot of football ahead of us. Everything's still out on the table in the Big Ten. And, we can learn and grow from all these opportunities that we have. And even losing a game, you learn more about, life and about football losing than you do winning all the time. So, I don't want that to be like too cliche, but everybody wants to go mountaintop to mountaintop. Like the valleys are where you really learn and grow throughout this whole thing. And so with a group of young guys like I have, or slowly gaining more experience, it's being able to ride those waves and the ups and downs and just kind of steady everything out, just like we're asking them to do in a football game.
You're listening to USC offensive line coach Zach Hanson on Trojans Live. Coach, take me back before the season. It's interesting because there's a lot of turmoil, or not turmoil, there's a lot of turnover on rosters, but this offensive line group has a lot of guys that you, I'm sure, had relationships with and knew over the last couple of years, but now you're their guy. How does that relationship change when all of a sudden, you become the offensive line coach and that familiarity goes to, now being, direct, coaching?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, with a handful of these guys, I was pretty heavily involved in their recruitment. With Tobias, Elijah, and Alani in particular, like a lot of relationships I had were guys calling me about these guys. I went and saw them, was really the first to see all 3 of those guys. So I started building a relationship with them early on, and that's carried on throughout our time here. But, I've naturally just always congregated towards the O-line, of course, just being a former O-lineman myself. So had good relationships with them. It definitely changes, though, when you take over the room and now you're officially like the guy in charge of them. But they're a great group of kids, man. They really like to work and they want to win. I mean, they were devastated about the loss to Notre Dame and the fact that we just didn't play very well up front. And so, ultimately at the end of the day, it's our responsibility for the offense. If we're not doing well or we're not doing something well, that comes back to us. And, we put that on our shoulders and we take the blame for it, and we'll go on and continue to get better.
Coach, second bye week of the year, there's usually an emphasis going into those. First one, maybe you can grind a little more on the guys. You got one coming up. What's the emphasis on the second bye week here?
Yeah, I think for us up front, it always comes back to technique and fundamentals. I mean, if you watch that game, a lot of the things that we didn't do well just rely on base fundamental and technique things. And so we're going to come back and get back to work on some of those. Certainly need to rest some of the guys that have been playing throughout the season. You think about like Tobias and all the positions he's played. Lonnie's played basically every snap. Justin Tanu's played basically every snap. So getting those guys' bodies healed up a little bit as well. But continuing to push, man. We got things we want to do and make sure that mentally we're in a really good space going into the next week here, and then go and attack Nebraska after that.
Coach, you just mentioned him, but a guy I want to talk about, Justin Tawanu'u. He's been versatile as well. Yep. Played left tackle last year in the bowl game, had to come in for Elijah Page. Then he goes to right tackle this season. When Elijah goes down, he goes back to left tackle, and then they're just going back and forth. What has impressed you the most with him? Because people forget he's still a freshman. He's still learning. He's still a young player. But what has impressed you the most with Tawanu'u this year?
I think probably his growth just as a football player.
Yeah.
I don't know that like he was quite ready last year just mentally for what all this is, you know, and I can relate too. Coming out of high school, I was nowhere near close. Same. And he was way ahead of where I was at even. But you could see it when he works so hard at it and he cares about it. So he's like grown so much in understanding defenses, what they're going to throw at you, as well as like what we're trying to accomplish offensively as well.
What makes a good offensive line coach? When you look back at your playing days or any mentors along the way that you've assisted and come up under, what's the advice that you've taken that ultimately leads to being good at this job?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. I've been able to be around some really good O-line coaches. Man, I think it all comes down to, honestly, it comes down to mentality and discipline and holding a standard, and not ever letting up. And I know that's like pretty consistent across the board, but even to a higher level for the offensive line, I think, if we give up a sack or we have a penalty or something like that in practice, like we're all running after practice for that on our own. Everybody breaks it down. Everybody's on their way out. O-line will be out there running gassers, because we can't have the mistakes. It's not okay, and if one thing shows up, like it's not just hurting just you because you gave up a sack. It's hurting the whole group and it's hurting the whole team. And so building that chemistry and that togetherness comes in those times right there when I'm pushing them pretty hard, after we've had a couple hour practice to run crossfields and all that. But the standard doesn't change, and I think just holding them to that standard and that level of discipline is probably the biggest thing that I've taken from the coaches I've been around.
As a former defensive lineman, the best thing about an offensive coach is his ability to hard count in pass rush drill. Coach, how's your hard count in pass rush drill? You got a good hard count on you? Because I would jump every time the offensive line pass rush, man, that he would piss me off, that offensive line coach.
Yeah, well, that's a little different now because all we do is go.
Yeah.
More clap, huh?
Great point.
So Gruden hates that. I know I've seen a couple of his deals, but the clap cadence, our Jaden luckily has a great clap, and he's got a really good fake clap. But, we always try to get our D-line for sure.
Shaun, were you friends with the offensive linemen?
Oh, I always had a good time. Oh, you have a great time with them.
Different personality types, though, defensive line, offensive line.
Oh, you got the offensive line, man. Those guys are classic, man. Those classic offensive line coaches. There's nothing better than having one of those guys, and, he gets all over you when you're doing something on defense. I always love the classic offensive line coach.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got one right here in Zach Hanson. Thank you so much, Coach, for taking the time with us on Trojans Live. And running behind that offensive line is Bryan Jackson. He's coming up next, ready to take it to the next level. Unleash the beast this college tailgate season with Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet. Monster Energy Unleash the Beast. And Trojans Live is sponsored by Pechanga Resort Casino, a proud partner of USC Football. Just getting started here on Trojans Live. And our best in the game is brought to you by Old Dominion Freight Line, official freight carrier of USC Athletics, helping the world keep promises. We've got Bryan Jackson, sophomore tailback, Jordan Moore, Shaun Cody, Cody Kessler. What's going on, Bryan? Good to have you on the show. First timer here on Trojans Live. We've enjoyed watching you, and it was tough sledding out there in the running game. Coach Hanson was just talking about it. What were you seeing from the backfield?
Really just, it's going to be one of those grinded out games, rainy game. Just try to get something going on the ground. We had some stuff going on earlier, but yeah, you can always tell that the rain starts coming down. It's going to be one of those grimy kind of grinded out games. We was trying to get something going in the run game for sure.
You guys we didn't know upstairs if the game was going to stay on time or getting ready for the game. What was the warm-up situation like? Were you guys having to cram in a little warm-up? We didn't see you out there early on the field warming up. What was that situation like trying to get ready?
So the funny thing about that is, we usually when we get to a stadium first, we try to take a walk on the stadium to just see where the play clocks are at, just scope out the scenery first. Yep. But when we first arrived, they said we couldn't go out in the field till I think we got there maybe
for a while. It was deserted out there.
Yeah, so we had our little warm up going under the tunnel, and our little speakers going with Coach True and the strength staff. So we were just getting pumped and ready for the game. So that was a fun little event for us.
Bryan, you've had an interesting journey since you've been here at USC, but you've had to step up big in some moments, and you've really answered the bell when your number was called. How do you stay ready for those opportunities, even when you maybe aren't getting the reps that you'd like, early on in your career?
I always try to tell myself, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah, love it.
Because in this game of football, you never know what's going to be next. And no one ever expected this to happen, but staying ready is something you always got to do, especially playing the tailback position.
Yeah.
Because this position is such a physical position that you never know what's going to happen at any time, any point in the game. So I would just say staying ready for me was a really big thing for me, and just staying close, not trying to get too carried away, just trying to stay focused in meetings and things like that, not trying to fall off the track. So just staying ready for whenever my number's called.
That's awesome.
You're rocking the 21 on your chain there. How many people since you've gotten to USC have told you you look like Lendale White in that USC uniform?
Man, I love it. even before I got here, I loved it, man.
So you knew about Lendale? I mean, because play that age game. You were born sometime around when Lendale was here.
Absolutely.
Thank God for YouTube.
Yeah. All of the comparisons, I love it. Like watching Lendale, he was a great back. And I try to keep the Trojan fans happy by keeping that number relevant. But yeah, all the comparisons, I always see it on social media all the time, and I just try to live up to the standard because he was a great running back here, and I feel like I'd be doing the dishonor to him for not ripping his number in a great way, in a great manner.
Yeah, 50 touchdowns, not too bad. Why do you wear the 21?
I think I wore 21. I think that was my second number playing football. So I was originally wearing number 2 in like Little League and stuff like that. Then I think I switched over to 21. Maybe sometime in middle school or something like that, and I was a big Zeke fan as well.
Okay.
So yeah,
Texas guy,
a big Zeke guy for sure.
Going into the game, huge game versus Notre Dame, and relatively two younger backs, and you and King Miller going into we're going to get a predominant share of the carries. What was Coach Jones' message to you guys as head into a hostile environment for a big game like that?
He was just letting us know that we're ready for this. Like there's nothing that we can't accomplish in that running back room. Whether we're on the road or we're here in LA. So he was just telling us that we're prepared for this. We had the right preparation, the proper preparation for this game. So he was just trying to tell us to not get too high, not get too low, stay steady, stay constant throughout the game, and go play our game.
Now, you're from McKinney, Texas, correct?
Yes, sir.
So what went into the decision to come here to USC and start living in Southern California and wear the Cardinal and Gold?
I mean, they say it all the time. It's the place to be, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's a place to play football. Los Angeles is a great place. Great market, great football team, historic football program. So it's like, what else you really need, Like, just a great place to wear the Cardinal and Gold, man.
I got to follow up on that and be honest. Who's got better high school football, Texas or California?
I had that down too.
Oh my gosh!
Because I live with Nelson Aguilar who's from Florida. We would always debate. We had some other Texas guys.
SoCal, and Florida, man.
I'm going to have to go with us, man. I got to go with my Texas guys for sure.
Right.
What's different about it? I mean, it's a whole culture down there, isn't it?
Really, I would say the effort that's put into Texas high school football, like not the guys on the field, but like I know y'all seen like some of the stadiums that we have in Texas. Like my high school stadium.
That's a good point.
Our high school stadium was like $70 million or something like that. Houston has a big stadium. Our rival Allen has a big stadium. Prosper has a big stadium. So I say, like, really the stuff that goes into like Texas football, because California can have those. California can have those, but I mean, you don't need a big stadium. You got palm trees in the background playing football.
Well, I asked you about Lendale earlier, but Ronald Jones is from McKinney, Texas.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know Rojo at all?
Yeah, I've connected with him for sure. He always
different high school though, right?
Different high school. Different high school. He lucky he wasn't our rival school. He's a school up north. But every time I go out to practice or coming in from practice, I try to just look at that All-American wall and try to live up to that standard and try to be the best next running back to come out of McKinney.
When I think about Bryan Jackson, I think about tough, hard yard. You get in there, grind. Is that what you think when you run the ball? Are you concentrating on being a physical back?
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like that's my best attribute is being a physical runner that can, if a hole's not always there, that I can go run through somebody and go get some extra grimy yards for sure. Absolutely.
I know you guys are still practicing. You got to stay locked in, but how do you like to decompress? Because that is important through the kind of the season to be able to step away a little bit. How do you like to spend your bye week when you're away from football?
Oh, I'm a big video game guy.
Okay.
Video game.
What's your game?
Sports. All sports
Yeah.
games.
All right.
So you got obviously you got Madden, NCAA, 2K, NBA 2K. Believe it or not, I'm a FIFA guy too. FIFA.
I was a big FIFA guy in college too.
I'm a big FIFA guy.
Don't sleep on FIFA.
Cody's a big beach walk guy now. He takes easy beach walks.
Who's the best gamer on the team?
Me.
All right.
All right. Okay,
That's
don't touch that one, Jordan. Don't touch that one.
Definitive answer.
Okay,
Brian.
for sports games. Sports games.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
other games, I'm all right. Wait for you a little bit on the sports
We'll get
game.
some FIFA in the offseason.
Absolutely.
We'll get some one-on-one.
For sure.
Hey, we've got a game time for the next game. It just dropped. Basically, it's the same as what we just had at Notre Dame. It's a 4:30 Pacific, except it'll be 6:30 Central where we are in Lincoln, Nebraska. Same network on NBC there. So pretty similar situation. We have a bye week this week, but then it's USC versus Nebraska in Lincoln. Should be a good one. Sounds like maybe a little cold weather game. Good Bryan Jackson game. Get it going in the Midwest there. Hey, Trojan fans, did you know the Ralph's app gives you easy access to weekly sales and personalized coupons? You can earn fuel points too. Check out the app today and save while you cheer us on to another great season. Ralph's a proud partner of USC Athletics, and Stone IPA has inspired a generation of brewers and beer lovers. Made in Southern California, Stone Brewing's first anniversary ale continues to be today's iconic West Coast style IPA. Crisp, light-bodied, and packed with hoppy flavor. Located at fine.stonebrewing.com. All right, our football roundtable, first of two today, is next on Trojans Live. Fight on, Trojans, and fly on with ONT. Ontario International Airport is a proud sponsor of our USC Trojans. Visit SoCalSoEasy.com to start planning your next vacation today, and don't wait until game time to plan for retirement. Open your free iTrust Capital account today and get your crypto IRA. iTrust Capital is the official cryptocurrency platform of the USC Trojans. Jordan Moore, Shaun Cody, Cody Kessler here for part one of our football roundtable. Part two, we'll look forward. So let's look back at this one, guys, and break it down. Listen, It was always going to be a tough task going into Notre Dame. USC's won 14 games ever in South Bend. So this is unfortunately not a rare occurrence that the Trojans don't get a win. They were certainly right there throughout, and I think that they'll feel like they have some regrets coming out of the game. But when you guys said after the game, you sort of ultimately felt like the best team won, I think you're really talking about the run defense and just the game up front for Notre Dame. They won it up front really on both sides of the ball. But the run defense was ultimately the key when you look at it. Just hard to win a game when you're getting gashed that much in the running game. What did you see?
Yeah, it's twofold to me when I went back and watched the film. Obviously, playing run defense is maxing out on effort and heart and those kind of things, and you got to be totally committed to stopping the run. And we just weren't getting off enough blocks, winning some of those one-on-ones and in those kind of areas. And that's probably the first concerning part of it. And the second concerning part is probably the game plan going into it, right? Thinking about, how we want to stop this team. What do we want to do in the box? And I think if you looked on the other side of the ball, what Notre Dame was focused on, it was focused on stopping the run. You saw that extra defender in there. You saw them really commit to stopping that. And we were kind of on the fringe. And you got to give it up to Notre Dame offense. Coming into this one, they showed that passing attack. They weren't one-dimensional, so you knew you had to play both sides of that, the run and the pass. It just seems like Notre Dame was like, hey, we're just going to run the ball today. And USC was still trying to stop two things, and I think that's kind of where they got hurt.
Yeah, and it was frustrating, too, because the week prior against Michigan, we dominated up front with our front seven. We were playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage. We were staying disciplined in our gaps, and it had great gap integrity, and then that was just absent in this game. And that's a good offensive line for Notre Dame. I know they had their backup center. I know they had some guys out, but that's a physical offensive line, and they've got a surefire first-round talent in Jeremiah Love, and Price behind him is also a very good back, and they're making some runs that not a lot of guys can make at that college level. But I think the frustrating part for me was the disconnect between the play calling and the execution on the field. To Shaun's point, I thought we did a good job for most of this game of loading the box and having guys and bodies in there to make the play, but then we would have 3 or 4 guys in the same gap, and the backside C gap's wide open like on that first run. We had Bishop Fitzgerald coming down, playing the other side, and I don't know who was supposed to be there exactly. I'm not in the meeting rooms, but there's just no one in that area, and that can't happen against that type of team, because then that's 70 yards to start the game, and you get the crowd involved after you go down and score, and that's a spark play, and then they have chunk play after chunk play, and they're getting 10 yards on first down and 12 yards on first down. That just can't keep happening for you to go on the road and be able to play defense. I always say, when you go on the road, you got to be able to stop the run, you got to be able to run the football, and we just didn't do either, and it's tough to win games against a good Notre Dame football team like that.
And if people missed Lincoln Riley's post-game comments or press conference, he said as much, Cody, where he said, Illinois, it felt like they just got knocked back. They were constantly getting knocked back in that game. It seemed like to him this was a little bit more about discipline, technique. He used the word panicked. Just feeling like guys were just not in where they were supposed to be.
Yeah, and Cody mentions guys in the box, and there's I think there's two ways to look at it. You look at it, when you have a guy in the box, he's in the box, he's there,
Yeah.
he's standing there. They got 6, we got 7, that kind of thing. You have an extra one because when you think about gap control defense and you have 6 guys on offense, that's 7 gaps, right? So you want to have 7 guys to cover those gaps. When you're floating a guy in late, you're kind of trying to cheat it a little bit, right? You're trying to, hey, we're playing the pass, we're going to roll a guy in late and try to fool you. So I just think they were kind of on the fence with trying to stop the run instead of let's be fully committed to stop, Love or Price, and let's just get a guy in there and this is how we're going to play it, as opposed to trying to cheat where, hey, we're going to stop the pass, but here we're going to roll a guy in late. It's like that. So that kind of commitment, I think, to the run stop was where I had maybe an issue.
And, Shaun talked about this a lot, Cody, so I wanted to get your take. Mekhi Lemon has been so good. He was, still very good on Saturday, but limited by Notre Dame. Clearly the focus of their game plan was to limit him. In those situations, Lincoln basically answered your question, Shaun, and was like, listen, we got other guys that can go here. If they're just going to roll everything to Mekhi, we'll go somewhere else and we'll win there. That seemed to be sort of what they tried to do in the game. What's that balance of that versus, hey, we got to force feed our guy?
Yeah, and that's how good Mekhi Lemon is, though. We're talking about, they limited him in the game plan. He still had 4 catches for 76 yards and some big-time plays. But what happened was you get Tanook Hines going early, and you get him the football. I know he's quiet for the rest of the game, but you start getting the ball to other guys to put pressure on that defense. You let Jacoby Lane go have that big touchdown. On that play, Mekhi Lemon was double-teamed. Like Chris Ash, their defensive coordinator, made it a point of emphasis. We are not letting 6 beat us. But I think the biggest issue with that is you can have, Lake McCree touchdown, the other receivers stepping up. The run game has to be the second part of that, though. You've got to be able to run the football when you know a defense is going to prioritize stopping the pass. The King Miller story last week was amazing. He's a great football player, but I think we kind of overlooked losing Wayman Jordan and Eli Sanders because of how good King played, and that hurt us in this football game. We needed those guys, and like I said, I still like King, but when you can't throw the football as easily as you've been able to and get your playmakers going on the outside, you've got to be able to run it, and we just didn't have that in this game.
Yeah, I just think they did a really good job of staying committed to what they want to do in their game plan. They stayed, we're not going to let you run the ball. We're going to have an extra defender in there. We're going to let we're going to guard your guys one-on-one outside, and we're going to lose some of those matchups, and we're just going to grab you and to eat a PI, and sometimes you won't call the PI. So those kind of things, and I think they stay committed to it. Another thing is just finishing. I think on offense, they didn't finish some drives. They had to settle for 3 in some drives, especially in the first half. I thought they really could have took more of an advantage. The defense created some punts in the first half, and then not finishing at the end of the game. You look at the last 4 possessions. You go interception, fumble, you go turnover on downs, and interception again. So that was really the emphasis. I think finishing.
All right, we're going to take a break from football. Men's basketball season soft launch on Saturday. They played an exhibition game at Loyola Marymount, which they won. Jaden Brownell is here to talk about it, and then the season starts for real coming up here soon. So that's next on Trojans Live. Want the inside scoop on this game and all things Trojans? Be sure to sign up for the 3 Torches presented by Smart & Final. It's a free newsletter. It'll hit your email inbox 3 times a week with game info, player insights, and more. Go to usctrojans.com/3torches and sign up. And Monster Energy, the official energy drink partner of USC. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet. Monster Energy, unleash the beast. It's hoop season. Jordan Moore, Shaun Cody, Cody Kessler, Jaden Brownell joins us now. Grad transfer. Jaden, welcome to Trojans Live. Welcome to the Trojan family. Ultimately, what led you to USC for your final year of college?
Yeah, coming, I had a breakout year last year, coming being at Sanford, and the biggest thing that really just showed out to me was every single coach, going down to strength coach to dietitian has all touched some sort of higher level MBA, professional somewhere. And, it being my last year, I wanted to be somewhere where I could get better and I could see what I need to work on and what I need to do to be a professional after my college career. So, and then, LA is a great city. My wife, she models, so this is great for her.
Well, that was a humble brag there, guys. Flex. That was a little early. A little early to be flexing. But go on.
She's been out of it for a little bit, so she's trying to get back into it. So, and then obviously a little closer to home being from Utah. So.
Shaun was a professional model for a while. You want to get into that, or you want to stay with basketball?
Child actor, no. Now you got me all discombobulated, Jordan. We'll talk about the scrimmage on over the weekend. How'd the scrimmage go for you guys?
Yeah, it went great. Came out with a win. Got a couple things we got to work on, but I mean that's why we do these exhibition games to see what we need to work on when it comes to real games. So
kind of going back when you were growing up, was it always basketball, or did you play any other sports, or what kind of got you to where you are now today?
Yeah, I played baseball until about 5th grade.
Okay,
but they stuck me in the outfield, and I said, I'm better at basketball. I'm gonna go do that. But so yeah, that's really I've been basketball really all the way through. So
did you go through the travel circuit? I'm sure AAU teams.
I never was on I did AAU. I was never on like a sponsored circuit team. I didn't play UIB or any of that. But the team I was on, the Salt Lake Rebels, we had a lot of really good guys. So
and how's high school basketball in Utah?
It's actually better than better than you think. There's it's a lot more fundamental, a lot more less athletic, but so there's a lot more defensive schemes and. There's a couple of teams out there that have been really dominant the last couple of years.
Nice.
Yeah, walk me through the journey a little bit. Born and raised in Utah?
Yes.
Yeah, it says Sandy, but that's like the Salt Lake area?
Salt Lake area. Yeah. My city's Sandy, but Salt Lake.
Yeah, so born and raised in Utah, but then college takes you to Chicago first?
Yep, 3 years there.
Then Alabama.
Yep.
Now Los Angeles.
Yep.
You're not afraid of... I don't know, traveling challenges. I mean, boy, what completely different parts of the country.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it at all. Like, my biggest thing coming out of high school, I wanted to get out of Utah. There's so much more to the world than Utah. So going to Chicago is obviously a crazy jump. Like my first time being in Chicago, I moved there. So, but it's been great to experience each culture and each different, area. I just got to get to the East Coast now. So
yeah, what was Birmingham like? That's where Sanford is.
Yeah, it's in Birmingham, Alabama. Small, like the actual campus is in like Homewood, which is it's basically the same thing. But it's great. A lot of trees, very hilly. That you got the Southern hospitality people out there, so they're all great people. But I mean, me and my wife really enjoyed it. So
take us through your game. Anybody who's unfamiliar with your style of play out there on the court.
Yeah, I'm a big, but I'm not your typical back to the basket big. I shoot more threes than I do anything else.
Face-up game, huh?
Yeah. So, that's mainly my game. I can do a lot. A little fadeaway is more of a finesse big, but not the most athletic, not the quickest, but, I can get the three off pretty easily. So
I got to know who got Coach Muss or who gave Coach Muss a football helmet and a jersey this offseason, because I feel like that man
put it to use.
Is he wear that at practice too? Does he coach you guys in that?
No, thankfully not. But I don't know. He's a funny dude. He loves to do those just little funny things,
Yeah, and we talk a lot about the social media stuff. He's a funny guy. But he's also a great basketball coach. What have you learned from him since you stepped foot on campus, and how's he helped you develop?
Yeah, he's just pushing me. I've experienced a lot of other coaches, and he's definitely the most enthusiastic I've been around.
Yeah,
and he's a great coach. He's just super dialed in on the little things, and but for me personally, he's just kind of pushed me to work harder and just have more of a motor. So
definitely a jump up, as you go into Big Ten level of basketball. Obviously, you haven't played those Big Ten games yet, but day in and day out in practice, you're looking at Gabe Dines, who's 7'5", and he was incredible in the exhibition game. You're battling with Ezra every day. You're battling with Jacob Kofi every day. What do you foresee as that challenge now as you go from the sort of the mid-major level of basketball to the top?
Yeah, I played one Big Ten game in my career, and I played well, but it's only one game, so I do know the Big Ten's a lot more physical, a lot more athletic than what I'm used to. But going against Jacob and Ezra, being super athletic, super physical guys, and then going against Gabe, who's obviously he's 7'5". Like, not many people can get a shot off over him. But
certainly not many guys in LMU. Did you start feeling bad for those guys a little bit?
They were just
looked like you guys were having fun.
They were just handing it to him. It was crazy. But I remember when he first got here, he was blocking stuff like crazy.
So you've mentioned your wife twice already. Let's get to it, man. Let's talk about the wife. Talk about the relationship.
3 times.
You got, she's a model. What else? What you got? How's the relationship during your busy time of year here?
It's good. She's just kind of hanging out right now. We got a dog, a Bernedoodle. His name's Nelson.
How long you guys been married?
We've been married for 2.5 months.
Congratulations!
So
oh wow,
August,
nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
But we've been together since basically our sophomore year of high school. So we've moved in together last year and all. So. But no, she's awesome. She keeps me grounded, so it keeps me going. So
Nice. And you guys have one more exhibition game, correct?
Yes.
Before season starts, and then you guys take on Cal Poly. What are some things that you guys need to work on to get ready to start this year fast?
Yeah, one thing that really stands out for us right now that's been a positive is our defense. Our defense is really, obviously Gabe being tall and blocking shots and everybody else just doing their thing. But, I think the biggest thing we got to work on is just keep dialing in on our offense and just kind of putting the ball on the rim. So, and we'll get that figured out. So we're looking forward to that. So.
Yeah, this is a fun one this weekend. It's USC versus Grand Canyon, sold-out game. If people know anything about Grand Canyon, they have incredible home court atmosphere, and so the guys will go down to Arizona and a little road test to get things started before it begins for real after that. But you can watch the game on Saturday night on the Mountain West Network if you get that one. Thank you, Jaden. Trojans Live is sponsored by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC Football. Another Football Roundtable next on Trojans Live. Welcome back to Trojans Live. Jordan Moore, Shaun Cody, Cody Kessler. We talked a little bit about the Notre Dame game. We got 5 games to go here, though, guys. Coming out of the bye week, it starts at Nebraska, but really some interesting games the rest of the way. Which one do you think is the most pivotal in terms of that sort of flex game that'll determine whether USC has the season that you want them to have or not?
You looking at me first?
You can. I mean, there's an easy answer.
The easy answer is Oregon.
It's not my answer.
Okay, well that's not my answer either. That's the easy answer.
Got it.
I think the most pivotal is the next one. I think this Nebraska game is going to decide a lot about how this team is going to respond. You have 2 losses now. Everything you want is still in front of you. We always say that, but you have to go out and respond in this game. You've got to correct some of these issues. If we can't correct being able to stop the run consistently, if we can't be better at running the football without Eli Sanders and Wayman Jordan, then Oregon doesn't matter. Iowa doesn't matter. Northwestern, all those other games don't matter. But this Nebraska game right now is going to be a huge test for this team. And another game. We're traveling almost across the country. We struggle on the road against these Big Ten opponents. Even Notre Dame, I know they're not conference, but we struggle when we travel right now. And that's been the story of this football team the last couple of years. We've got to be able to show that we can go play dominant Big Ten road games and be able to handle those environments.
I'm going to talk Chris Morales up, man. We got to cheer him up. I mean, he's taking this. Chris Morales, he's taking this tough. Let's get some positivity here from him, man. Yeah, we lost against Notre Dame at their house. Tough loss. Your defense gives up 28 points. You think maybe your offense should be able to win that game. There was points in that game. I said the first half. You can figure that out. But this season's not over. That was a loss. We got this a half of the season here almost. You got a lot of things to play for. There's a lot of bright spots. There's some things to work on, of course. But you can finish out the way you want if you can figure out what you want to do as an offense, how you want to play as a defense. When you get run on for 300 yards, it sucks. It's emotionally draining. It's even worse than probably the score was, right? The score, like you said, you only give up 14 in the first half, 14 in the second half. That's not terrible, but it just feels like so much worse when they run it on it. So you got to figure out that run game, and I think this defense could get back on solid ground.
You didn't pick what game?
Not an answer to my question, but an excellent rant nonetheless.
Okay, all right.
I'm with you, Cody, though. To me, the Nebraska game's the flex game because it's hard to imagine winning at Oregon if you can't win in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And I just sort of tiering opponents a little bit. Oregon is at the top of the sport right now, just like Notre Dame. So that's the challenge of winning on the road, but also beating an elite team on the road. Nebraska's a good team, but I think a team that we'd feel really good about if we were playing them in the Coliseum, which we did last year and took care of business. The hard part is the Lincoln of it all. This is the Lincoln, Nebraska, not the Lincoln Riley. This is a sold-out big. They love football at Nebraska. This is an elite atmosphere you're going to. So we got to get through that wall, and if you get through that wall, then I think there'll be some confidence, going forward into an Oregon game that okay, we can win in a tough place. Now can we beat an elite team? Give me some players. Give me an offensive player that is pivotal to you the rest of the way.
Quarterback's always most pivotal, but to me, I think this offense goes with Mekhi Lemon, and we got him going a little bit. He had some plays the other night, some 2 big ones with 4 catches, but I think you got to force feed him a little bit more. I know we use him as a decoy a lot because he's so instrumental in what we're doing, but there's got to be, I think, a little bit more Mekhi built into that game plan. I know it's tough when it's raining, but you got to get Mekhi Lemon the ball.
Real quick, mine's built off yours. I would say Jacoby Lane, and the reason I'd say Jacoby is exactly I don't think Mekhi's going to be able to completely take over games unless Jacoby really makes people pay. I thought, I have really high standards for him. He was obviously really good on Saturday, 6 catches, 111 yards, but left a little bit out there, by his standards. So, to me, if he goes out there and just has a monster game, well, then, great, cool. Then you want to throw everyone in Mackay, fine. This guy's he's gonna be our Biletnikoff Award winner for the second half, but he's got to do it too.
Yeah, and the tight end room as well. You could throw them into that group. I'm sticking with quarterback though. I think how Jaden Brownell plays these next 5 games is going to determine if we have a chance in the postseason.
Does he need to run more, Cody?
He does.
That's the commentary that
he absolutely does. And there's times on film, and I've always talked about the zone read, right? It's not always taking it and running. It's just making the right read with that defensive end. If they crash down, you can pull it. If they stay upfield, then you can give it. Also have to be ready for that scraping linebacker. But the things that I want to see him do more is when the play breaks down. Those off-schedule type plays. I don't need you pulling it and running every time. When no one's open downfield, you can buy time and still keep your eyes downfield, sure, but there's plays to be made on the ground where he can take off and keep a defense honest and then force them to have to rally up when you break the pocket. Then you can find those explosive plays when you get outside of contain. But just right now for me, and you don't need to force it. I don't want him to go out there and take unnecessary hits, but there are plays to be made on the ground that he's not making right now when the play breaks down.
Especially when you see so much man defense. As a defender, you think when your guys are in man defense, as a defensive lineman, you got to get the quarterback, you got to corral him because that's when those guys have their back to the ball.
The wrong way.
They don't know where they're going, so you got to do that.
I wouldn't mind some quarterback design runs. So I know we brought Hassan Longstreet in for a play, but that's too predictable in my opinion because you know what he's going to do. He can throw it also, so maybe they're setting something up for later on. But I wouldn't mind with Jaden Brownell, his size, his athleticism. He did it at UNLV. They would have some of these quarterback design runs. Go in there and let him, especially with Jordan and Sanders out right now, take some of that pressure off of King Miller and Bryan Jackson and Harry Dalton. Let Jaden Brownell have an extra blocker for him too, and let him get some quarterback design runs.
Stay with you, Cody. Give me a defensive player.
I'm going to go Kamari Ramsey. I want to pick someone maybe that's not a big name, but I can't. I got to go with Kamari Ramsey. He can play down in the box. He can play in coverage. He does it all for this USC defense. The versatility that he has is just so important for us and our success on the defensive side of the ball. You can argue Eric Gentry's maybe a 1B, but Kamari Ramsey, the relationship he has with Danton Lynn, the understanding he has of this scheme, he has to be that guy going forward and be dominant both in the run and in the pass.
Yeah, this is a tough one because there's some areas of concern I think you have on defense that Coach Lynn is trying to work with, and like I said, we talked about I think his concern in the pass game was why he had was trying to cheat it a little bit. I think Marcellus Williams, a young player, but he's still learning the position and how to get right. That's the one you got to try to figure out in the middle of the defense in the run game too. I think the other defensive tackle, maybe opposite of Devin Tompkins, is kind of in flux. And if we're getting the production we want, especially in that run game, you gotta have a body in there that is able to hold it down in there.
Yeah, you mentioned my guy. It's Marcellus Williams. It seems like they've settled on him as the young quarterback that they're going to throw into the fire. See him. He's just a young player develop with reps over the course of a season because people are going to try to pick on the young corner. That's just the way this sport goes. We'll see if Marcellus can get up to the task as the season gets going. We're up to one more segment to come here on Trojans Live. One final segment of Trojans Live. Our over-under is presented by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC Athletics. All right, guys, I'm setting the over-under at 3.5. And that is Big Ten teams that make the college football playoff. It's kind of a, right now, top-heavy looking league as 1 and 2 teams in the country, Ohio State and Indiana, are in the Big Ten. Oregon's sitting right there. I think it's 6, so they're very comfortable. And then you go all the way down and you get to Illinois at 22, Michigan at 25. USC is the first team out, so they're 26 right now. So can this league get 4 in? They got 4 in last year.
Being optimistic and being a Trojan, I want to say yes, because if we beat Oregon, I think we'll kick them out as maybe being that other team.
Certainly, if USC wins out, I think they're in.
Have an argument.
I think Illinois and Michigan probably, 10-2 out of the Big Ten is I would think a playoff.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. I'll go over on that, and I think we'll be that 4th team.
I got to see how this thing goes against Nebraska, man. We got to get back on track here. I got to find a way on the road to play better ball, and that's just my honest answer. So.
Yeah, 60 seconds left. What's like a reasonable? So everyone's going to say just win every game, go to the playoff, win the national championship. Okay, there's that. What's like a goal that's not just like that? That you want to see this team achieve for the rest of the season.
I want to see us win a road game. I want to see us win a tough, hard-nosed, change-the-narrative road game like a Nebraska, like an Oregon. I want to see one or both. Give me both of those. I want to see us go out and prove that we can dominate on the road, because you always say there's that 12th man element in the home games, and you always, okay, whatever. Does it really matter where you play? Any place, anytime, anywhere is always a story. That hasn't been the case for this team. Right now, we can't win on the road. We've struggled to go get those competitive road games in the Big Ten. I want to see us go do that in these next 2 games.
Yeah, I would copy that answer exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and they also have a great opportunity on the flip side of that, too. Some interesting home games coming up. Iowa, Northwestern's playing really well. These are teams tied with, USC right there in the mix, too. So, can they defend the Coliseum, be a great home team the rest of the way, too. Nebraska is next. We'll have another Trojans Live coming up next week. Thanks, everyone. Fight on.